I've been wanting to play Cyberpunk for a long time now, and I've tried to play it back at launch, but it's clear the game was not in a good state yet, so I've been waiting until the game, doesn't suck anymore. So now that a few years have passed, and the bugs were fixed, hopefully, I'm actually gonna finish it now. Cyberpunk 2077, as the name implies, takes place in 2077, and you're a returning face in Night City, a futuristic city that is completely riddled with crime, corporate greed, the works. I gotta say though, I really love the vibe. Walking through the city feels like walking through the bad part of town, except that's like the whole city. There's lots of homeless people, there's trash everywhere, people are burning cars, getting arrested. All sorts of stuff happens that really helps the city come to life. As soon as you make a new save, you get to customize your character. There's actually a lot of customization to choose from. Maybe a little too much actually. But once you're done making a character, you're immediately dropped in. You play as V, someone who came back to Night City after realizing moving to Atlanta wasn't such a great idea. So you get back into the game because you need some cash, form a crew, do some jobs, blah blah blah. Then you do a heist to steal a super valuable chip called the Relic that goes horribly wrong. The container with the chip gets damaged, so you stick it in your brain for safekeeping. Everyone dies, you get shot in the face, but you walk it off, and now you're stuck with a virus in your brain that's slowly overwriting your consciousness with the consciousness of a terrorist from back in the day, Johnny Silverhand. So you run around town like an idiot a bunch to hopefully find a way to remove the chip and save yourself. The story itself is actually pretty good. It's a cool idea for sure, and has a lot of really cool set pieces and moments in it. I especially really like the moments where you get to play as Johnny and relive his memories. It really feels badass. I won't lie though, a lot of the characters are pretty forgettable. I cannot for the life of me remember the names of about half of them. They aren't bad, they're just pretty bland. I really like Johnny though, he's pretty funny. Anyways, let's talk gameplay. The game feels very smooth to play. Back when I first tried the game, I eventually gave up because of a bunch of performance issues and the excessive amount of bugs, but they've largely been fixed now. I still ran into a few bugs in this playthrough, so it's not perfect, but none of the bugs I ran into were game breaking, so it's not nearly as bad as it was back at launch. The combat feels very smooth and responsive, the movement was fluid, the gunplay was satisfying, and so was the melee combat. I'd argue even more so than the gunplay. Though melee combat is way easier than the game made it out to be. The game's tutorial made it seem like it was going to be this complex thing with dodging, blocking, and parrying. But I won't lie, I never really did any of that. I just rushed in, spammed the attack button, and demolished everyone. There's also some cool stealth mechanics. You can do stealth attacks, you can hide dead bodies, and also since it's the future, everyone is infused with cybernetic enhancements, so you can actually take advantage of that by using your cyberware to hack enemy cyberware. Using Quickhacks, you can do the usual hacking stuff like disabling cameras and traps, but you can also hack people themselves. You can do something simple to them like disabling their vision for a short period of time, or you can do some pretty insane stuff like forcing someone to kill themselves. Over the course of the game, you can visit clinics to upgrade your cyberware for various stat buffs and the occasional new ability. If you want, you can even swap out Quickhacks for a different ability. Abilities like a Berserk mode and one where you straight up just pull a deal and basically stop time for a couple seconds. It's a real shame that I never really used a lot of these mechanics since the game was just so easy that I never really felt the need to use stealth or abilities. I was basically able to get through the entire game by brute forcing it with a good old-fashioned gun. With that said though, I did only play on normal, so I can't really say how difficult it is on harder difficulties, and it's not the worst thing ever. I did still use quick hacks and abilities for the cool factor of it. The gameplay feels like a futuristic twist on Grand Theft Auto. Just like that game, you can steal cars, run people over, get into police chases, among other stuff. Unfortunately, while I think the general gameplay loop is very fun, I think the missions definitely left a lot to be desired in my opinion. The game has way too much waiting around. It feels like every other mission is waiting for something to happen. Follow someone from point A to B, wait for someone to call you, wait for someone to shut up, wait for the elevator, get in someone's car and wait until you're at the place you need to be. It's exhausting. There's a reason why in games like GTA, characters will always hand you the wheel in a car. It's because it's more fun to drive somewhere than to be driven somewhere. Sure, it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but at least our hands are busy doing something. You might be thinking, oh, there's a skip button, why not just skip the ride? First off, it's not really an option because the driver talks to you throughout the trip, so you're missing parts of the story if you do that. And secondly, answer this one. If a mechanic is so annoying that you need a skip button, then why is it even in the game in the first place? All this is a real shame too, because some of the missions are actually super well done. Like, I love this one mission where you have to protect the president and you end up having to run away from a huge robot chasing you. There's also this other mission where you explore cyberspace. That stuff is so sick and I love it, but when it's followed up by another damn mission where all you do is sit around and wait, it really makes the game feel like such a drag sometimes. Another thing I really didn't care for in this game was stats. I don't have a problem with the idea of stats. It's a good way of giving progression. But I do have a problem when things are locked behind high-level stats. More specifically, locking things behind a high stat and not giving you an alternative approach to get around it. It really makes the game feel unrewarding sometimes. For example, there was this one time where I went out of my way to invade a hideout, and when I cleared the place out, my reward was locked behind a door that I couldn't open because my tech ability stat was too low. So I couldn't get my reward for clearing out the hideout because I didn't have the foresight to know that I needed level 11 tech ability to loot it. It really made me feel like clearing the hideout was just a waste of time. Do I really need to explain why that's horrible game design? Hey, at least you can change your dick size though, am I right? The game also takes after so many games in the modern age and adopts things like a skill tree and a weight system. I'm just gonna throw it out there, I don't like skill trees. Most of the time, it doesn't give you anything cool, and most of the options are just like, here's like a 2% skill increase or something, I don't know, take it. It's just some extra fluff to keep people playing for the 100%. It's annoying, but I can live with it. What I can't live with is the damn weight limit. Again, this isn't a Cyberpunk exclusive mechanic, but I hate when games have a weight-based inventory system. The amount of times I had to pause the game to disassemble weapons because I went over the weight limit was insane. When you go over the weight limit, you are slowed down to the point that you basically cannot move. It disrupts the flow of gameplay so much and it's just so frustrating. The solution to this problem is also so painfully obvious. Let's take a little look at Zelda Tears of the Kingdom to see how it can be fixed. Ah, there we go. Just don't let me pick up the weapon if I don't have room for it. Even better, ditch the whole weight-based system and just use inventory slots like a normal game. I'd much rather have limited slots and have the game tell me I can't pick something up because my inventory is getting full, than getting a little shot of dopamine from finding a cool new weapon only for that to be crushed because I went over the weight limit by 1 and now I have to open up my inventory and disassemble like 5 guns just to hold this new one. It really makes me just never want to pick anything up sometimes, just so I don't have to pause every few minutes. So, what do I think of Cyberpunk 2077? I think it's a fine game for sure, but I also think the game has a lot of missed potential. I did say earlier that I really like the futuristic aesthetic, but I think the game could have gone a lot further with it. Like the one mission where you explore cyberspace? Wouldn't it be so much cooler if you had to fight off a virus or something in there and there was an escape sequence or a stealth section where you have to sneak through cyberspace to access a place you need to go? I don't know, I'm just throwing an idea out there off the top of my head. I won't lie though, I probably won't revisit this game since the amount of missions in the game where you have to just wait around is too much for me, and I think it really drags down the overall quality of the game, and no amount of bug fixes and quality of life improvements is going to fix that in my opinion. But I still commend CD Projekt Red for what they did. Their game had a disastrous launch, and instead of complaining and blaming everyone else for it, they swallowed their pride, fixed it up, and actually managed to make something that's pretty good. But what do you think? Have you played it? Did you like it? Let me know in the comments. As always, I'm open to hearing your opinions. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, consider subscribing. It really helps me a lot as it spreads my content further and helps you by recommending more of my stuff. It really is a win-win. That's all I have for now. I'll see you in the next one.